Hey, there I am.
There
Geeks,
you
nerds,
are.
gamers, and trolls. Welcome to the always online podcast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your source for multiplayer news and information. I am your host this week, the new fridge, Troy Blackburn. And this week we've got lots of great news to go over and a little fun topic to start at the top of the show. So let's welcome aboard our co-host this week, Mr. Mike Byrne, who is sitting in another chair for the moment.
Hey, how are you? It's just nice to be
I'm
here. Thanks
good.
for inviting me.
You're
Flintstone,
quite welcome.
Flintstone, this is
This is
for
this is
you.
my show now. You're no longer needed here. Thanks for coming.
Fair enough. I'm out.
Ninja says this is weird. I agree. This is weird. This is backwards. And Miss Quinlan Bowers, Q. Hello.
I'm just here. This has nothing to do with me.
This has nothing to do with any of us. We're just rolling with what comes here. So the reason I'm hosting this week is because we have a little topic to talk about, something that I brought up that wanted to discuss. And that is what games do you think, damn, I really need to play that, and then you just never freaking do?
Yeah.
And
If we're gonna do that, I'm gonna hit the news bump
like
if that's okay. Can I?
What's that?
You want me to hit that news bump?
Oh, sure, we can go to
Here
the
we
news bump. Sure.
Bump. All right, there you go. Bump is complete.
Bump is complete. All right, trying to cut out on some of that delay a little bit. Because I'm just watching, if those of you who aren't live, I'm just watching the Twitch to see when things come up. That way I know when to start talking. So I've got a little bit of delay. But yeah, what games are we not playing that we really wish we would, that we wish we had more time to play? And so I'll start with Mike. I know you've got to have some on the list here.
Yeah, and so first when you said this is what you wanted to talk about, I was like, wait, didn't we already talk about this? Isn't this just a variation of like the MMOs that we play that aren't our number one MMO, which we did a few episodes back. But then I was like, oh no, I kind of see where you're going. Like this would be the games that I actually just don't play, right?
Yeah.
The
ones we just never get around to.
Lotro is one of those for me. Lotro is one of those MMOs that every time we do a story on it, or they're doing some event, or they email us about something, I'm like, damn it, I really want to get into Lotro. There have been multiple times that I have installed Lord of the Rings Online and then never played it, just to end up uninstalling it in my next sweep of let me clean some stuff out of my computer that I'm not using. So it is as close as you can possibly get to having me play it without me actually playing it. And I'm not sure why. I'm sure some of these are all, if I had more friends playing X, I would play it. Right. I have a feeling that you and Q and everybody watching has those types of things. If I had more friends, but I don't even have that excuse with Lotro. You play.
Yes.
You play it. So I could be like, hey, Troy, I'm going to play. And you'd be like, okay, yeah, cool. I'll help you. We'll do this and this and this and that. I still don't do it. And I have no idea why. No idea. I mean, certainly some of it's time, but I could not tell. There isn't a good reason why I don't. I don't throw Guild Wars 2 on this list because that one I do occasionally boot up, but it's close to being on this list.
The silver waste saved you from keeping it on this list.
Exactly.
It's funny because Lotro was that for me for a long time too. It was like the game. I was like, man, it's got everything that I would want. And then I would install it and not play it. And then just a couple of years ago, it just finally hooked me.
Well, what
hooked
you about
it ever since? I think I was just looking for a classic MMO. I think I got burnt out on New World a little bit. And so I was like, I just want to play something that's just sort of old school MMO. And that's what made me download it initially. And then the one thing you'll hear everybody always talk about is just the world existing in J.R.R. Tolkien's world. And the great job that the team has done there creating that world and making you feel like you're a part of Middle Earth and part of the story without directly interfering in the story, but yeah, you're still part of what's happening and part of the reason why the story is progressing. I think they've done just a fantastic job with that, and that's what really draws me into it.
I think it's actually still installed right now. I'm not sure. Sure. Let me see. Lord of the file folders are all here. We're still installed.
Yep. Yeah, we've all got those too. The ones that are still stay installed on the computer all the time and never get played.
Yeah, everything you've ever bought in a Humble Bundle.
You're right. Q, have you got one or more that you wish you had more time to play, or just don't know why you don't play it?
If we're talking about MMOs, nope.
Nope.
I'm perfectly happy. Like the only other MMO I would want to play is the one that they don't make anymore. So that's whatever.
Is that
There's
Secret World?
yeah.
Like the
I
OG
mean,
Secret World?
I remember, having fun in Eve and stuff like that, but I don't want to go back and redo Eve. I don't want to go back to Lotro. There are games that I touched for like 15 minutes that I don't care to go back to. So I'm perfectly happy where I'm at as far as MMOs or, co-op games go, right? We got XIV and the Hoyo verse. There are games, single player games no, there is Fallout 76, but that's not really I wish I played that. It's I played it up until I got stuck in a train station and couldn't get out because one of the big monsters would just not quit haunting the place. Like it was just circling around continuously. You couldn't leave, right? Because it was some sort of glitch. So we quit playing for a while, and since I've been watching Fallout, it's been like, I might want to revisit 76 at some point. But
I've kind of getting the 76 itch too.
It's more that like, I should maybe finish this game, or I kind of miss this. I'll go back, but most of it's single player games, not MMOs and stuff. Like I think there's no MMO that if I'm not completely playing it, that I miss enough to go back and do the content that I'm behind on or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, for me, usually this answer is Star Trek Online. It's one that I have played, but never, in any sort of extensive amount. And it's a franchise that I absolutely love. I'm a big Trekkie. Enjoy Star Trek quite a bit, but for some reason, I just never find time to play Star Trek Online, which is very interesting. Given that when I do play it, I have a little bit of fun in it, but it just a lot of times it'll just stay on my computer and I end up playing other things all the time. And then I've got one that's go ahead.
I think the problem with Star Trek Online is that once you get through it's just so much repetitiveness.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it doesn't feel, unless you go back, it just doesn't feel like you're doing that much in Star Trek. Like I like the game, I like how it ties into the rest of the IP,
Mm-hmm.
and they bring in the voice actors that actually played the characters and stuff like that. But it's not I need to be playing this all the time or anything. It's just kind of like a dip in and a dip out in.
Yeah, I like the way they do their stories, their episodic stories, but like you said, the missions themselves, the core of what the missions are, very repetitive. It's kind of doing the same thing over and over again. And then one that's upcoming that you would think that I would be all over, but I just don't know. I even told Mike when he gave me a key for it, I just don't know how much I'm going to play it. Is Gigantic, and I don't know why. I think it's the art style. I think everything kind of bleeds together for me a little bit. I don't mind the art style. I don't think it looks bad. It's just the looking at the game itself, everything like the characters in the background and all the abilities, they kind of blend together. So even when Mike gave me a key for it, I was like, I just really don't know how much I'm going to end up playing this.
We are giving away 7 copies of Gigantic Rampage Edition, by the way. If you head on over to MMOBomb.com, you'll see the giveaway entry. You can do your things to enter there. We'll be giving it away, I think it's either Monday or Wednesday of next week, 22nd or 24th. I can't remember which, but go ahead and enter if you want a chance to win a Steam key for a copy of Gigantic. I'm the same way. Like I claim my key, and I don't know if I'll really play it all that much, or when I'll play it if I do. EverQuest, ironically enough, EverQuest 2 in particular is another one of these on the list for me. That I always like, You know, I have no real desire or nostalgia for EverQuest 1. I wasn't real big into EverQuest. I was in Final Fantasy 11 at the time, and then I went from there to WoW, right? And so the original EQ was never, I don't have nostalgia goggles for it. But EQ2 was always one that I'm like, you know what? I wish I would have played that a little more back then. But I was too busy playing 11 and WoW. You know, I didn't have time for that. And it is always one that every time an expansion comes out, I'm like, I should give that one a shot. You know, I really should see if Troy's busy, see if Q's busy. Let's go fart around in EverQuest 2 a little bit. And then it's just like, but then I have to install it. And then I have to boot it up. I have to create a character. And I think I'm just going to play 3 Rocket League matches and call it a night. That just seems like a lot of work for something that I know I'm not going to play all that long. Chat giving us
about the time
too.
you figure the game out again and remember how things work is about the time you're done with it.
Yeah, that's exactly me with SWTOR. I still love SWTOR. Obviously gripes with it and it is the game that I continue to say, if you're going to play for any length of time, sub up for that time. But flashpoints and the raids and, I love that type of PvE content. I love Star Wars. That is one, though, that I just cannot play anymore without a group of friends. At least 4 to 8 friends to do the PvE content playing it. I have no desire to rebuild or rejoin or get to know people in a guild in that game because I'm not going to be there all the time. And so that's not fair to them. They're like, oh, this guy's really running with us crazy for 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden I fucking disappear.
Just gone.
That's not fair to them.
To him? Did he die?
Exactly.
So you need one of them once a week raid groups type deal.
No, it'll be maybe once a quarter.
Okay.
I mean, with War Within coming and Dawn Trail coming, I'm not going to have time to raid or do things in other MMOs. I'm going to be focused on those for a while. But that is one. Go ahead.
That's the problem. There's just too much stuff. If you have 2 or 3 games, that's it. That's all you got to worry about. You're like, oh, Dawn Trail's coming up, right? I'm sitting here going, well, great. The next update for Genshin is right there, and there's just too much stuff. Nobody needs another.
Yeah, nobody spreads their stuff out enough. Whatever 2 or 3 is yours, they always like to do all their stuff around the same time. That's always
Genshin,
interesting.
With the Hoyo stuff, it's a constant feed. You're basically, by the time you finish one, there's the other. And it's just a constant, never-ending feed of their updates. I don't know how they manage that. It's very nobody else does it, but it's a lot.
Here's another one for you, and I think, Troy, you probably fall into this bucket too, if I had to guess. I have never completed the original main story of Black Desert Online.
Nope, have not.
Every time and that is one that I'm always like, I really like this game. I think it's pretty. I like some of the systems. I don't have a ton of experience with endgame systems. In fact, I don't have any experience with endgame systems because I always follow that little black cloud dude around until about level 25 or 30, and then I'm like, time to be hitting the old dusty trail.
But you hop back in and try to play on your existing character, and you have no idea.
Yeah, and so I end up deleting it and then restarting, and I get to about level 20, 25, or 30, and I'm like, where's that old dusty trail?
And maybe the
it's not that my experience is bad.
It's not even just that game, right? You'll go away for a while and come back and want to play, and your choices are tough it out to try to figure out how the fucking game works because you forgot, or start over again. Maybe there should be a returners tutorial.
Right.
Because accessing things in that game is not it's not intuitive. It's not just something you just figure out. You're just where is this shit?
Yeah, and what makes me want to get into it a little more, Troy, is their last few expansions / larger updates, they have been very PvE focused, right? And that was never, I mean, it was part of the original experience, but the original experience was more sandboxy, trading, that type of stuff at the end game. And now there's more and more with the latest couple expansions on the PvE side of things. So you think they would have sucked me in, and they do every time an expansion comes out, but I have not completed the main story. I have not completed any of the main narratives in any of the expansions either. I've played all of them, but I haven't completed a blessed one.
It's funny how games do you like that. You're like, this should be my game, right? Like this should be something that I like, that I want to complete the story in, that I want to do this and I want to do that. And you get into it and you're just like, I'm having fun, but at the same time, I'm ready to go do something else. And that catches me a lot. It's like, it's not that this is terrible. It's just that there's these other things that I would rather just go do right now.
Have you guys ever booted up a game and then immediately just went, nah, and shut it down?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
I have games on my Steam that I don't know where they came from. I'm sure some of them are humble bundles, but not all of them are. I don't know how they appeared on my Steam. And I'll boot it up and be like, yeah, and just close it out.
Yeah, because Troy, your topic is like really hitting me on that front. Like when I'll boot up Steam and I'm like just kind of looking through it and I'm like, you know what? I got nothing to do tonight. It's in the middle of the afternoon. We're finishing up the MMOBomb stuff, and okay, I'll load this and actually play this tonight. That'll be cool. I got nothing to do. Haven't checked this game out in a while. And then tonight comes. We're done with the MMOBomb stuff. It's installed. I hit launch. It boots up. I go to whatever, character creator, car creator, like whatever it is. And then I'm just like, yeah, fuck it. I think I'm just going to go upstairs and read.
Well, and that's the other problem too, right? Is it's like, well, I could be reading a book. I could be watching a show. I could, like...
I don't want to pay attention to this.
Well, I guess that's it for my topic. Unless anybody else got anything to add, I guess we'll start hitting up some news here, Mr. Byrne.
Oh no! All right,
you have to start doing your job again.
Yeah, I got to start doing stuff here. Son of a bitch. All right, let's talk about some news. Very good, Troy. Love it. Here's one I know Troy absolutely will be loving. Did you sign up already?
Yes, I have signed up already.
I kind of figured. You can sign up for Marvel Rivals testing. That was already coming /live, depending on when you read this piece. But we also have a new map review. And ironically, if there was ever a trailer that got Q interested in a game she will never play, it was this trailer for Q.
Yeah, it is a very nice looking map.
Yeah, it's Yggdrasil.
It's not brown, the map.
Yeah. Yggdrasil, the famous tree, the world tree in other games and in lore, and long before video games, this was a thing, guys. The internet didn't create this either. The internet didn't create it. It does look good.
Neither did the MCU.
But this is another one. Like, I don't play Overwatch. The thing that might get me to check this one out, Troy, is that they are planning to have some types of elements of PvE-ish content that just Overwatch has just now thrown out the window. That might get me for a little bit, but I just can't imagine me playing this. But I can imagine that if this is even remotely done in a competent, not pay-to-win manner, this will jump to the list of top 5 Troy everyday games.
Yeah, it could possibly. Hero shooter isn't something that I typically play a ton of, but you throw the Marvel universe in on top of that, and you throw some quality PvE in on top of that too, something that I can just do when I just want to jump in and chill for a little bit, just something for me to do. I would definitely be interested in this, and I could see this possibly getting on my computer and staying on there for quite a while.
So if you want to sign up for Alpha, that is open now. And then we got another game. This one's actually part of Steam's FPS Fest going on right now. So it's going to be running till next Monday, the 22nd. So you can check that out. There's a free demo of the game there. You can just head on over to Steam, grab the demo. This isn't one that we're going to cover all that often. It was kind of a slower news day, and so it was one of those things that it was like, well, I mean, it's not massively multiplayer, but it is co-op. We'll go ahead and, throw a piece up because it's a slow day, so we'll give them a little news. This is EvilVEvil. Kind of a vampire co-op shooter. So, yes, you got me. I'm in. Vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the weird thing, though. Like, this is brought to you by Toadman Interactive. There was other news this week, Q, about Toadman Interactive.
Weird news.
Name of a company that we never ever hear, all of a sudden shows up on our radar twice in the same week. What was the other news? What happened over there?
Okay, so we know all about the selling of PlanetSide, or the PlanetSide IP, right?
Yeah,
we know about
PlanetSide 2, yeah.
thing.
Mm.
Right. So it's a little bit weird and confusing. Basically, PlanetSide IP being sold to do some money book stuff for Daybreak's parent company, EG7, and then that happened like back in February, I believe.
Yeah, and Daybreak would not confirm it to us at the time.
Right, it wouldn't be confirmed. Now people did figure out, because how documents and stuff are on the internet. People figured out that it had been bought out by this company, or bought by this company named Baytree Limited, I believe. And now we got a press release basically saying that this company here, the Toadman Interactive, is now going to be developing PlanetSide 2, and they put out a roadmap and all of that jazz. When we were looking at it, it was actually massively OP. That was like, and the thing here is, Toadman Interactive is also a subsidiary of EG7. So they just kind of
it got sold.
It got sold, but it's
it'd be kind of like me selling Q something of MMOBombs.
But Daybreak is still going to be associated with the game as well. So so it's not like they're completely out of the picture either. I was talking to Justin about this the last couple of days, because apparently he and some people have been doing some looking into this situation on their, even prior to this particular announcement, into the whole who bought it, blah, blah, blah kind of thing. And it's like a company, what they found, they said, he was telling me that it's like a company tied to the Cayman Islands or something, and so their suspicion is that it's actually owned by EG7 somewhere.
Imagine that.
And yeah, because it's just some shell, or some investment kind of company, or what is the word? Anyway, so yeah, it's not really gone from the whole, the company that originally owned it. They're still developing it and all of this jazz. It's just been shuffled over. The team that was working on it before is no longer working on it.
Leave it to Daybreak to have some weird convoluted freaking game sale.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't specifically, like I said, right? Daybreak is under EG7. Right. So, but it was when they were talking about when I was reading about it, right? It was to kind of, part of the whole, balancing out EG7's books or whatever.
A portfolio shift more than anything.
I think this is something that we're just going to run into more and more as more and more companies keep buying each other, until eventually it's almost like tracking who has your student loans at any given moment. Like, that's what following who owns what game is like now. It's like, where's my student loan? Is it Mohila or Sally Mae, or does the government own it by now, right? Who's got my student loan? Like, it's that, but with video games. Like, I will have to go and look up who is in charge of a video game sometimes, because I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
who? And you know, like, it'll say one thing on like on a game page or something, and you have to be like, who owns this now? Is it still the same people? Are the same people still responsible for, hey?
Oh, cat fight. Cat fight.
Did you hear that?
Yes. And I saw them just barely behind your left shoulder there.
Yeah, it got ugly for a minute. But yeah, it's great. And I obviously, I don't know that it's like EG7 still technically owns it,
Right.
like, or maybe the other company was just like, well, they were in charge of it before, so we'll hire them to keep developing it. Like,
Why not?
I'm not sure.
If you have been waiting for X Defiant amidst its how many delays, Troy? Lots?
Multiple.
Lots. They have finally released the date for their testing phase, and it starts today. In fact, it was supposed to start at 1 p.m., which is the same time this show went live on twitch.com/MMOBomb. Whether or not it actually went live, I don't know. I'll go poke around on their Twitter afterwards.
I was going to say, that seems questionable.
No, you know what? Let's go look at it now. X Defiant Twitter. Let's see what we got. We got a whoopsie. Oh, look at that. 34 minutes ago, server test session. Oh, it's on. Play now. So it is live. They did make it live. Now, how well it's doing, I don't know. Go check it out if you want to. The test is on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, PC, so you can play it on any platform. If you played any of their previous testing particularly on consoles, Troy wrote up a piece on MMOBomb that'll help you get to the right build, because you may have a build that can be updated, you may have a build that needs to be uninstalled, and a new server test build installed. Everything with this game's been a pain in the ass. So why wouldn't this be?
Yeah, right. I think one of them was even you need to install our test client, but don't delete. I think it was on PlayStation, but don't delete the other one that you've got, because that's the one that's going to go live.
Unreal.
Like,
but you can get your hands on it if you actually want to check it out. The test runs until Sunday afternoon, East Coast time. So you only got like 48 hours. Check it out. Fractured Online. We haven't talked about this game in forever. Wow, we really haven't talked about this game in forever. They actually have their second largest update ever coming on May 8th, bringing the demon race, an invasion, and of course, Troy, a cash shop. Yeah, buddy, let's do it.
Yeah, buddy, got to get that cash shop in there.
What they got going on there?
It's interesting. They're introducing a new race to the game, but I mean, on one hand, I get it, but on another hand, if you're going to introduce another race and your existing two races have their own continents, your third new race should have its own continent. Well, they're not doing a new continent for the new race because they want to put that effort towards polishing things and generating in-game content and things like that. I understand. But you've said there were going to be multiple races in this game since the beginning. That the two that you started out with were just the beginning. Now they're all going to be all on the same continent. There's not going to be anything overly unique about them other than the way they look. The starting experience is all going to be the same as other starting experiences.
Yeah, because they're just going where? They're going in the human world, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just going to spawn in the human world. Demons. There's going to be demons in the human world. And they're ugly looking mofos. I give them that. They look like demons. But the fact that you're not doing their own content stuff, it kind of takes away some of the luster of the new race for me, especially in a game where that's the way you were set up with your first two, was that, everything's going to have at least their own starting experience, their own starting continent to get started on. And now they're not going to do that. So, I mean, I guess if you're going to create in-game content, though, that'll be where a lot of your players hang out. That'll be your retention spot for sure. So maybe new players coming in won't care as much about that if they're looking to get into in-game content. Maybe not. Who knows? But for me, it was a little bit of a letdown that they're not going to have their own content for the new race.
So Q, Fractured Online has always been an interesting project to me, and I wonder. Man, this is going to sound awful. Like, I wonder how much Gamigo killed this without actually killing it. It was always going to be a little more niche, right? It was just based on what they were planning to do. It was always going to be a little more niche. It was always going to be a question mark on, can they achieve all the milestones that the original team wanted to achieve? Obviously, yes, it's nice that they're adding that third race, but this is, as Troy points out, a bit short of the expectations that they set way back when on 3 races, three areas, that type of thing. There are 7 people on Steam playing this right now. And the all-time high was, or the last 24-hour high was 14 people.
I can't remember. Do they have their own
I
launcher?
I don't know. I hope so, right?
I'm like, because I'm sitting here thinking, how if that's the amount of people that are playing, how does this even warrant adding a new race?
Oh, that's a free sign up. Get access. That's a founders pack.
Like,
He's like, give me a
and I agree. Like, if you're adding, especially demons, like, yeah, demons aren't something that you think of as living on the same continent, or in the same space as humans necessarily. Like, if they did want to create an actual new continent out this way or whatever, they could, like, make them build hell underneath the human continent. Like something. Like, it is, I think, a little lacking. And if they have other things that they were wanting to concentrate on, polishing and stuff like that, and their player base is as low as you were saying it is, it seems to me that it would be more worthwhile to get the polishing done, not worry about the race until you're actually ready to put in content that goes with that race.
Yeah. According to
Just like they do have their own
website,
installer.
yeah, they do have their own installer. I'm seeing
So
forum
maybe-
posts as
maybe that
recently
makes
as
sense.
December, referencing their own installer. So,
That
Can't see
might
that
be
having
difference.
100 times more players or more though. Like,
Yeah, I mean, because that, like I said, that's just a low number. And maybe they're thinking that adding a cool new race will bring more people in. But I don't know.
it is a little weird. Like, again, I never expected Fractured Online to be a mega hit or anything, Troy. But it was just weird what happened with Gamigo and how we all thought, they're going to try to force this out the door. And eventually Gamigo did. And then it tanked their initial reviews. Like, all time, they're mixed. The most recent reviews are coming in as mostly negative. And it's still technically early access at a $25 box fee. It's hard to look at them doing this second big update and saying that this game has a shot. Like, I think it hasn't even launched yet. It hasn't even officially launched yet, but I think there were just so many missteps. I know they were I talked to them. I know they were very excited about the partnership with Gamigo. We weren't.
No,
We weren't,
I feel like,
but they were.
I feel like, too, unless it is a very established, like an IP that's doing expansions and stuff, like, I feel like box prices at this point are such a deterrent for players because so many people, one, are, like, have less money anyway these days, but 2, they're just so trained for games, and there are lots of really good games that are just free, that asking somebody to throw $25 for something that they know nothing about really is a terrible idea.
Yeah, and at least according to their Steam early access page, the plan is, even at launch, to leave the box fee as it is, $25. The only change at launch is those founders packs, those early access founders packs would go away. They would no longer be available. I don't know, man. I do feel for the team. I got the opportunity to talk to a bunch of them, and over the years, and they're all very nice. And I have no doubt that they wanted to create something unique here. I just feel like there were some missteps along the way that have just hamstrung this project so badly that I don't know if it's gonna make an official launch. I hope it does for the sake of the team, but even then, it's not gonna be like a mega hit or anything. I don't know.
Yeah, it's still going to be very niche. And we've got a first look over at MMOBomb.com if you want to take a look at it, where I dove into the game way early on. It was, I think it was either right before or right when they were joining Gamigo. And now, of course, now they're not part of Gamigo anymore because that didn't work out like everybody told them it wasn't going to. But yeah, it was just a very bland experience at the time, and I don't see anything changing that right now.
And then on the other side of the MMO spectrum, you've got Blizzard pumping out all kinds of things. The War Within, including an alpha reveal interview with Ian Hezekostas and other members of the team. Holly Longdale doing some interviews externally. I'm showing you the alpha preview dynamic flight feature. I do think this is neat. I do like this. It's about time. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Great. Let's do it. As we also have the 20th anniversary collector's presale kicked off a day ago. I don't know, sometime in the last couple of days. And yeah, I think we're alpha kickoff. We're seeing a lot of content over on Wowhead and other places with access that are allowed to put up some certain things. So we can't be far from the War Within, Troy. Knowing that you've kind of got Chris Metzen behind the scenes here, that they're trying to do this whole World Soul saga with 3 things and tighten up the storyline and do faster expansions to hit some of these fan favorite storylines and move them forward in a way that maybe they hadn't in, things like Shadowlands and some of the previous expansions that may have missed the mark, particularly narratively. Does War Within and the subsequent segments of the World Soul saga entice you in any way to hop back into World of Warcraft sometime this year?
It hasn't me so far. Nothing that I've seen has been enough to be like, oh, WoW's back. It looks like, just another expansion that World of Warcraft players are going to, the ones that always come back are going to come back and check it out. And those of us who are waiting for something, really big and phenomenal to happen are just going to sit back and be like, okay, there's another World of Warcraft expansion. And I predicted, in my predictions article this year that this was going to be, when the excitement cycle, the hype cycle was all over with, you're going to get your initial sales. You're going to get your people coming back. You're going to get people who are excited about it in the beginning. But I predicted that it's going to be just another WoW expansion by the time it's all said and done, and it's going to kind of flop a little bit, just based on where expectations might be and where everyone is thinking that this should be taking World of Warcraft 2 and new heights that they should be reaching with Metzen back in charge of the World of Warcraft. Easy for me to say, geez. With him in charge of Warcraft as a whole, they're expecting everything to be elevated. It's going to be just like it was back in the day, and I don't think they're there yet.
It's funny, like watching this video. Troy's like, "Oh, look at that dynamic flight. That's great. I've been able to do that in Guild Wars for a while,
for quite a while now."
Q, there's nothing WoW can do to get you back, huh?
I was never a WoW player to begin with. Like, I played a bit of Mists because we were doing something at Gamebreaker, but I never was like a WoW player. Like, I never did any of the raiding or anything like that. I just kind of went in and did like 20 levels or something. And,
to Cal, no, I don't think Q and Troy were like purposely boycotting Blizzard in any real way.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I wasn't buying Activision stuff, but because I would totally play Diablo, but I was not going to buy Diablo related stuff.
Yeah, I personally was not for a long time. Since the Microsoft merger and talking to internal friends working there, I a few months ago said, okay, I would buy a product. Now, I haven't given them money. I didn't buy Diablo. I play it on Game Pass. I haven't given them a dime, but I would at this point. So
Yeah, no, it's effectively a different company. So
all right, let's finish up with a few I love this one, but I also hate it. I love this one because I hate it, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Legends of Aria. Remember that name?
Vaguely.
Legends of
Yeah.
Aria is returning with Legends of Aria Classic.
Ah.
Yes, because they're going to go all the way back to 2019. They're going to go.
Did Legends of Aria, I was going to say, did they do enough to warrant a classic? Like, I feel like you have to have done a lot to warrant a classic.
Remember, Legends of Aria was that MMO that did not really do all that well. And then it decided it was going to rebrand itself, Troy, remember? And they were like, we're going blockchain, baby.
Yeah, because it's the future.
There we go. And we did a whole interview at the time with, CEO Joseph Rubin about blockchain and NFT being the game's future. And they tried to go ahead and mint a coin. It did not, or a token. It did not exactly take off. They rebranded that game. I believe they call it Britannia or Britaria, sorry, and tried again. That you can still find that game, Britaria, if you really want to. But due to some ownership stuff, Citadel Studios still owns Legends of Aria. So now they're going to go back, now that this is Britaria, they're going to go back and make a Legends of Aria Classic with the 2019 rule set. Now, they don't specifically mention the NFT or blockchain stuff, but just by virtue of saying the 2019 rule set and by it being available on Steam, it would lead you to believe that it is not NFT or blockchain related, this version of things. And some of the system changes that they made post 2019 that maybe some of them weren't all that well received will not be part of this as well. I would have been okay with all of this, Troy, if they would have just not used the classic term. I mean, I might mention this a little later. I'm so sick of that term. We're literally talking about 5 years ago.
They did need to tack something on there.
Oh, no, definitely. Yeah.
Because of all the stuff that happened. So maybe, what other word would you have used? Like, what other...
Reborn.
Reborn.
Let's give them... Go ahead. Final Fantasy 14's done with it. You can have it. Reborn. It's all yours.
I mean, well, considering most video game titles, there's just like somebody throwing darts at a board with words on it anyway. Right. We got World of...
Yeah.
Fire. Like...
Yeah, I mean, you can't get the original Legends of Aria on Steam anymore. It still has its store page and stuff, but it's no longer available on the Steam store. Britaria obviously is not on Steam because it's NFT blockchain related. So this will be the only Legends of Aria that will be active and obtainable via Steam will be the Legends of Aria Classic. It's very weird. I mean, I guess there was an audience that liked it. I don't know, like, it's really unfortunate, right? Because if the people that were taking your game in a way that you really didn't like are now spun off and you're able to come and do this, maybe you should have considered changing the entire name, right? Like,
that's what I was going to say. I would have changed it entirely.
I get what they're trying to do, because if there were people that were playing it before and did enjoy it, they want people to know that
it's back.
This is fair. That. So it's like I feel like if they want it to do well, they're gonna have to do some serious marketing that actually reaches, so that people understand this is not what it turned into.
Yeah.
It's the thing you liked before. Maybe they're doing some stuff to improve whatever it was that made it not take off in the first place when it was this.
Yeah. And I'm showing you guys
Right.
the 2019 trailer. So this is right about, the rule set that they're going to be relaunching with. Ninja Panda's Reimagined could work. I don't think so. Reimagine
would work if they actually reimagined
right.
it.
Reimagine would imply that they've made changes to it, and they're not. This is reverting. Legends of Aria reverted. That inspires confidence. It's a weird one to see.
Aria OG.
Yeah, OG. We'll see what happens. It's certainly weird seeing it. Legends of Aria, the crapshoot.
Oh.
Hey, Mad World is going to go ahead and have a server merge where they are merging servers down to one. And okay, fine, that happens. But there is a little note here. This is everywhere.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like Eve's Tranquility server, except probably with a lot less people.
Yeah, Asia, Europe, North America, doesn't matter. You're all on the same team now. Enjoy your server.
Yeah, unfortunately, this to me, in my opinion, sounds like doom and gloom when you're merging the
Mike
whole world
sent
into
it
one
to
server.
me to write, when he sent it to me to write, my response was, "Oh, well, I guess that game's done, huh?"
Yeah.
Hey, man, that's not what they say in their announcement. That's not what they say.
I hope I'm wrong, and that the people that are playing it continue to get to enjoy it. But when you have a server merge like that,
and they say that this is so everybody has a much better experience.
I mean, but is it like, again, when you have MMOs?
Oh, it's done. I'm not. I'm just joking. It's done. Is that the Undertaker's music?
From different regions play differently. Like. So it's
not to mention that, like, if
great experience.
Where is the server, right? I don't know off the top of my head, but if it's not in your region, doesn't this immediately go make you just, I'm done?
Yeah,
well, yeah, that too, right? Like, because the ping.
Yeah, 300 ping. No, thanks. I'm out. I'm out.
And it's a Chinese company, I believe. So
Jandasoft,
odds are it's going to be the server's going to be in China.
Speaking of another game coming back, though, Lawbreakers is back. Kinda. You might remember this shooter from Cliff Bleszinski of Halo fame? No, Gears of War fame. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking Halo. Gears of War fame. And then, Lawbreakers kind of came out and made some choices that we, at the time, including Jason Winter, were kind of like, I don't know if I really would have gone that way. And maybe some of them were Cliff Bleszinski's decisions, and some of them were, from above. Who knows? I don't know the inner operations. But the game did shut down back in 2018. And Cliff had tweeted a little while ago, maybe last year sometime, that a lawyer of his was talking to some people and that maybe Lawbreakers would come back in some type of way. And now it is. And Cliff tweeted about the topic. Somehow Lawbreakers is coming back. See below if you're interested in this weekend's public test or future tests. Join the RELB Discord server to learn how to get set up and keep up with the current news. Funny how Lawbreakers is rising from the ashes, kind of like a phoenix, F-E-N-I-X. You Lawbreakers fans will get that. This one's
good for him, though.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't. From what I understand, he doesn't have anything to really do with it personally, though, right, Q? This is more a group of a fan group, kind of bringing it back to life, saying, "Hey, we're not really going to update it. Maybe we'll be able to make a balance tweak here and there, but don't expect new content or updates. We're just getting things back up and running."
I mean, that's still cool for the people who want to play. And I think, honestly, if we're talking about game preservation, I think once you're like, we're done with a game, like whatever it, like leaving it to fans to be able to do this kind of stuff and preserve it so that, so that it doesn't just disappear from the ethos. Like it, it's so that people know about it and it's still there and it's still part of gaming history and everything. So I think that's, a fairly cool thing to do. And it's good that a group is getting to do that.
Yeah, it's not affiliated with Nexon or Boss Key in any way. So for Cliff to be tweeting it out, I assume somebody behind the scenes at Nexon or Boss Key has kind of had to have given some type of thumbs up for this, right, Troy?
Well, you would think so that somebody has, but we saw, what was it, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Friday the 13th coming back,
Yeah.
and then like the next week it's like, nope, you did not have our permission to do that.
Cliffy B is tweeting about it coming back. I feel
Right.
like it's fine. I
Yeah.
feel like this is a different.
Yeah, but does he? I don't think he actually owns the rights to it, though. I
Right,
think that
but
would
I
be the
don't think
company
he
that
would be
published
out
it now.
there. I don't think he would be out there effectively promoting.
I don't know. I think
it
his
if it
ego
wasn't
says, "Yeah,
okay.
I want to see my project come back out."
His ego might say that, but he's also got lawyers and shit that would be like, no, you need to stay away from this. Like,
I think this gets shut down.
Do you really?
Mhm.
I think by virtue of Cliff getting involved in the conversation, that there's had to have been some discussion behind the scenes
Yeah.
that makes this either, I don't want to say authorized, because I feel like they would have been a lot more upfront and said, hey, it's fully authorized. But I think there's probably been like a wink and a nod and a, hey, we're just going to turn our eyes the other way type thing. Yeah, I kind of agree to Cal. It would be odd for Cliff to promote it via his big platform on Twitter and have it just be like, oh, well, now Nexon knows about it and they shut it down because they saw Cliff's tweet. That would be a little weird.
And also, Cliffy, like he's grown quite a bit since his bunny suit days. And the vibe that I've gotten from him watching him on Twitter and stuff is that he's like, his ego isn't quite what it was when he was, in his 20s or whatever. Like he's mellowed out quite a bit. He's much more, and I don't think he would like do something that could, jeopardize his career,
Right.
or like he's not that guy.
Before we finish up with the weekly bombs and question of the week answers, Mike Ybarra, ex-president of Blizzard Entertainment, and Q's already rolling her eyes, floated on Twitter the other day. Literally, I think this happened right after the cast last week. Is when I wrote it up on Saturday morning. So I think he did it Thursday night, something like that. He floated this little gem. I've thought about this idea for a while as a player since I've been diving into single-player games. Lately, when I beat a game, there are just some that leave me in awe of how amazing the experience was. At the end of the game, I've often thought, I wish I could give those folks another 10 or 20 bucks because it was worth more than my initial 70, and they didn't try to nickel and dime me every second. Games like Horizon Zero Dawn, I assume that's Gears of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, etc. I know $70 is already a lot, but it's an option at the end of the game I wish I had at times. Some games are that special. I know most will dislike this idea. By the way, I realize we are tired of tipping and everything else, but I view this different from a pressure to tip type scenario many face and give feedback on. Let's just throw the whole tipping culture in the United States stuff out real quick. We don't have to worry about that for this discussion. I think it's wonderful that the president, the ex-president of a nickel and diming empire like Blizzard would have the cojones to come out and say something like this and then rattle off a bunch of single-player games that didn't nickel and dime him.
And one of those games was not a $70 game, at least. Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't $70. Look, I'm all for wanting to support the devs, but if I wanted to tip developers, I would not give the money to the company. That's like that leaves you in a situation like with, say, waitresses at a restaurant. If you tip on your credit card, the waitresses may or may not get that money because they, like a lot of bosses just decide not to give them what they got tips for on their credit cards. Like, So, if you tip a company, that money probably wouldn't be going to the people who actually made your game. The people who did the actual work, the ones who would deserve tips if you were tipping them.
Troy, you gonna be tipping anybody?
No, I absolutely would not be tipping anybody. Games are expensive enough as they are. You should price your game at a price that makes sense to you. It makes sense to the consumer who's going to be purchasing it. And I'm already getting nickel and dime in almost every single game as it is. The ones that don't do it are so few and far between at this point that it would just become a standard thing for every game, even the ones with cash shops and box prices and subscriptions and all. They would be like, oh, and here's this little tip jar over here if you want to throw us a few extra bucks. They would all just adopt the system.
You know how you
tipping,
tip those
and it
game
would be
developers?
disgusting.
You buy their next game.
That's right.
That's how you tip the game developers that didn't screw you, like try to screw you over. You buy their next freaking game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a game like Axiom Verge, right, where it's a 1-person, 2-person team, right, you want to give them a little extra money. Obviously, with in lieu of tipping, what I've done before is literally, like, hey, Troy, you got to check out this game. Well, maybe. All right, you know what? I'm going to spend the $25 and buy a copy of it for Troy, and just send it to him, and I'm going to guilt him into playing the damn thing. Then I've tipped them by buying another copy of the game, right? When you talk about huge companies like Blizzard, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of people working on any given big, large-scale project. How do you divvy that up? They wouldn't. It would just become another fucking profit line on the P&L for the shareholders that they would love to see. The devs aren't going to see it. You know what? How about pay them a livable wage? I don't know. Maybe that's a crazy idea. I don't know. How about maybe share in the record fucking profits? I don't know. Maybe that's a crazy idea too. I don't know. You have microtransactions. How about give a portion of successfully selling microtransactions to them? Like, this just seemed like such a, hey, if this is the way you really feel, why weren't you better as the president of Blizzard? Why weren't you better? If this is the way you really feel. And I'm not accusing Mike Ybarra of anything. I have no knowledge of what he may or may not have known, done, or did not do. I am throwing all of that out. The accusations that Activision has faced over the last few years, I am not putting any of that on Mike Ybarra's doorstep. But if this is the way you thought, why didn't we see changes and improvements under your watch to the pay and taking care of your developers, totally independent of whether the company was under fire for any accusations or not? We didn't. Because you had shareholders to speak to, and that was more important.
And I'm not tipping your shareholders. They're already getting my money when I buy the game. I'm not tipping your freaking shareholders. They didn't make the game. They just sit there and collect the money from other people's work.
Yeah, Rancid probably worth more to those small devs if you talk about their game on social media. Yeah, or stream it. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. 100%. The devs would not see this if it was a company. Shouldn't it be the most important thing? That is your literal job. I'm not sure what you mean there. Let's slide over.
Money for the shareholders is what he means there.
Well, I mean, it's obviously a portion of your job, yeah, and a big portion. I'm not going to deny that. But it is not your sole responsibility, because you cannot possibly look out for the shareholders without at least some cursory degree of taking care of employees to make the products that are going to make the shareholders money. Doesn't mean you shower them with gifts and stuff like that, but you do there is a balancing act. It's not all about somebody in Mike Ybarra's position just accommodating the shareholders, or you burn the bottom line to the point that the shareholders aren't making anything. But yes, I won't deny that it is an important part of their job. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. That part of the argument, to Cal, I would not agree with. The shareholders are the reasons the company had funds to even make the games, but we'll leave that alone. Most of the companies that are publicly traded now were private when they started, were self-funded, and their projects made them enough money for shareholders to be even interested in giving them a little money. So that one I would disagree with your first point. Yeah, I can't dispute that it's an important part of the equation. Troy, go ahead.
I have finished the Fallout series, and I will have to say that I walked away fairly impressed. So I'm going to give it the bomb.
The TV show.
The TV show, yep.
Nice. It did officially get renewed for a second season, I saw. There was
Yep,
rumor
it sure
of it
has.
last week, but now it's official this week. Go ahead, Q. Is it the same thing?
Also the bomb to Fallout and the rumor. Well, it looks like the next season will be New Vegas related. So for those that love New Vegas,
I'm going to give an A-bomb to the term classic in MMOs. I'm already fucking sick of it. From YouTube and MMOBomb.com. Remember, important part of the show, leave your weekly bombs and question of the week answers in the comments below on YouTube or on MMOBomb.com. MMOBomb.com gives you guaranteed preference as long as you don't say like horrible things. Your thing will make the show because that's the site that pays the bills. So go ahead and visit it. Metallica fan saying, the Warhammer Age of Reckoning private server now is a fantasy game. So I think the question was around Warhammer 40K. So Age of Sigmar, fantasy, old world is your traditional fantasy settings. Warhammer 40K is the future setting with the Space Marines. So that's in response to somebody saying they would love to see a Warhammer 40K MMO. And I said, oh, well, we already had one. You are absolutely right, Metallica fan. Yeah, there is a segregation there between Warhammer, the fantasy stuff, and Warhammer, the 40K stuff. I mean, all of it's fantasy, but high fantasy versus the 40K futuristic sci-fi type stuff. You're absolutely right, and I would love to see a 40K MMO. Thank you for clarifying the comment. Go ahead, Q.
Shrek, to bomb for answering the question of the week and finding out one of my favorite horror movies, House of the Dead, was a video game adaptation.
Yeah, that's funny. So Chirac did not know initially that one of their favorite horror movies was actually based on a video game. Now, why that's one of your favorite horror movies, I don't know. I don't know. Not saying I haven't watched it more times than I probably should have, but I'm a fan of the Resident Evil movies too, so I can't.
Yeah, who you gonna hate on?
Movies are fine.
I can't give you shit. Takal says A-bomb to the NFL draft being held 4 months after the college season ends. What more evaluation do you really need to do? Go ahead, Troy.
Baron Vagabond says A-bomb to the weather being 81 days, 60 the next. Flu time.
Yeah, I mean, you just got over a nasty bug.
Yeah, it kicked my butt for about a week.
Question of the week last week, what's the best video game, movie, show, and a movie or show? And of course, what's the worst? Metallica fan chiming in again here saying, there were elements of Resident Evil Raccoon City I liked, mainly the set designs. I thought they nailed the look of the games. It's a shame that the film was a mess because they tried to cover the first 3 games in a 90-minute movie. True. Also, I like the World of Warcraft movie. It was ambitious to try and put a ton of lore into one movie. It's one of those films that needed multiple movies or would have been better as a TV show. I agree. There was a lot of truncated lore in there, which if you weren't a very involved player in that time, made some things a little challenging. Troy still can't get over the acting, though. He'll never watch it again. Go ahead, Q.
Ditz 19, Silent Hill was the only one I remember being kind of good.
Yeah, especially that first one. That first one's damn good. Go ahead, Troy.
Kitsarua fave game adaptation is Edge Runners. Love literally everything about it. Story, characters, animation. With a close second, I would have to say Arcane for all the same reasons. Worst game adaptation? I guess I'd have to go with Blood Rain, even though I like crappy movies at times. It was even worse than the old Mario Brothers movie, though I have DVDs of both. Gotta have some hot trash to watch every now and then.
Until I was putting the show notes together and I saw that comment by Kitsarua, I totally forgot how bad the Blood Rain movie was. Like 100%. Like it must have been like trauma blocked from my brain because it was just we had this whole discussion and I didn't even think of Blood Rain. YouTube commenter, I still love that name on YouTube. Question of the week: best for me will always be Arcane. When a secondary media offshoot of a game is so good they make it canon, you know it's good. In terms of the worst, the Halo show for sure. The fact that Chief takes off his helmet off is the least offensive thing in the show speaks volumes. Not sure how that's getting a second season, and I'm surprised the Mortal Kombat movies, the older ones anyway, weren't mentioned in our show last week. Even though the second one went off the rails, they're both classic, so cheesy it's good deals. I will 100% go with you on the first one. So cheesy, it's great. The second one... oof. Go ahead, Q.
Shrek, best adaptations, Halo Legends, worst, tied with Dead or Alive and Blood Rain. And Mike did not let me say mine last week because he was
your
too busy
personal
talking
favorite,
about
yeah.
Resident Evil. So my personal favorite is actually Detective Pikachu.
Really?
Yeah, I love Detective
God
Pikachu.
damn it, you should have just interrupted me. We've known each other forever. I literally said that before the show last week.
There's one that I love to hate because there's just a moment in it that is so like the entire movie is not great. Like it's just, but there's just one moment in it that's just so fucking ridiculous that's the Doom movie.
All right.
And I like it when it's hilarious when it switches over to the first person perspective.
I never would have pegged either of those as Q's favorites. I would have lost that bet. Question of the week this week: what games do you think of and you just go, damn, I really need to play that every time you see them, but you never actually play them? Let us know what they are and why in the comments below. Don't forget your weekly bombs. Bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad in the world of gaming or just life in general. And if you have a question for the panel, anything goes, throw it down there and I'll bring it to next week's show. Until then, Troy, where can everybody find you?
Hey, if I'm on your favorite social, it's at Noob Fridge.
Q.
On Blue Sky at Miscreation.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at MMOBomb, and you'll know every time we're going live with a giveaway, a podcast, a stream, a first look video, news, interviews, and so much more. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.